to talk to you today about some work that I've been doing here at the University of Illinois with colleagues Dina McDonough, Lydia Curry, and Suzanne Heff-Sears. Back in 1971, Victor Papanak wrote a book called Design for the Real World. Victor was a designer, an educator. He was an advocate for socially and ecologically responsible design of products. And he wrote, "Design has become the most powerful tool with which man shapes his tools and environments." This was in 1971. And then he went on in his book and he talked about how, while the genuine needs of man have often been neglected by the designer, 1971, he was concerned in his very first design project, he developed a shroud for a radio. And it was the only product that he ever designed that he felt that it was purely for the aesthetics of it. He tried to go on and develop products that were for people with the disabilities, poor, elderly, and he was very concerned about products that could be cheaply made in developing countries. Sounds a little bit about like the way we manufacture our products now, actually. So we're going to fast forward to 2010, and here in our own Beckman Cafe, we have a fellow who is finding his way. He's blind. And so with the American with Disabilities Act, we have come about trying to help people with disabilities find their way. And so in the Beckman Cafe, we have a sign with Braille on it. But how does that really work? So we can't legislate design. Good design isn't just simply something that we can say that we have to do. So how do we design for real people that will really make things work? Now, I'm going to step aside for a moment and I'm going to talk about something else about what industrial design is important about. We need to develop products that have an emotional connection to people. It's not simply about designing the aesthetics of it or the user interface, how it works, but it's about designing products that resonate with people, that make them want to pick them up and take them off the shelf and take them home. And so this is a product that one of my colleagues, when she entered the store from across the room, she saw this and her first gut reaction was, "I have to have that." What is it? It's a pepper grinder, and clearly she has it. So we also, looking at emotional bonding with products, look at something that's very popular, the iPhone. And this phone is very simple in shape, but it's very appealing to people because it's comfortable to hold, the user interface is great, and they can customize it. This is my daughter's phone. She's customized it with a skin. And so one of the things that is really important in the future of design is creating products that have this emotional sustainability, products that people want to pick up and take home with them and use and never throw them away. And that's how we will come about with more sustainability as we go forward in the world. And so, design right in the 2010s is about customization, customizing ourselves as well as the products that we use. Now, when we look at users, we're all different kinds of people. And so how do we connect designers with real users so that we solve real problems and that we can address the diversity of people? It's very important that designers understand who the users are and not just simply imagine what they think people really want. So I want to talk a little bit about relevant design, disability and relevant design. What the heck is relevant design? It's about enhancing the quality of people's lives, improving user experience. We want to reduce the stigma in products, and we want to build in delight factors, the delight factors that cause my colleague to want to buy that pepper grinder. Now, when we talk about reducing stigma, what does that have to do with products? Well, if you had hip surgery, invasive hip surgery, and after the surgery you had to have a recovery period and you had to walk with a walker, and that makes you feel old and as though there's something wrong with you. And so perhaps you might not use that walker. Well, that could increase the recovery time, could actually reduce the significance of what the surgery was and not be successful. So one of the things that we want to do is remove stigma. If you all probably are familiar with OXO Good Grip's line of products, and those were designed for people with arthritis. But most people don't even recognize that they are. They're just really cool to use and they're comfortable. And so that's part of what we want to do with industrial design. So now I come to our class, Disability and Relevant Design. And when you look at this group of faces, this is equally people with disabilities and people with abilities that are designers here on campus. We were designers and expert users working together to develop some products that were personally significant for the students with disabilities. But this exercise was more than just simply designing products for people with disabilities. It was about learning empathic design research, strategies that would help you develop better products, not only for people with disabilities, but for people across the mainstream population. So one of the very first things that we learned in this class when we brought this group of people together that were multicultural, multi-generational, and people with abilities and with disabilities, was that we had to develop some kind of shared language between us. Communication was really key to this whole practice, this development. We had to learn how to have compromise, respect, patience, and intention. Because as we discovered, as we had technical and design language, and if we bring engineers into the mix, we have engineering language, marketing people, we have different kinds of languages that we all learn to speak in our own fields. And somehow we have to bring this all together. But we also have regional, national, and social differences. During the break, I was having a discussion with some graduate students from Germany, and we were talking about some of the languages that we've had in our design studio that we had some problems when we first started talking about empathy. Some of the Chinese students pulled out their translator, and it came up with sympathy, very different than empathy. And so we recognized that even as a group of designers, we had to learn each other's languages. So as we work in this global economy, we cannot any longer just live on our own very specific language. So one of the exercises that we do with our students is try to take them beyond their empathic horizon so that they stretch their boundaries of knowledge and understanding. One of our students in the class has retinitis pigmentosa. She's actually an art student now studying sculpture, the only blind student in the School of Art and Design here. And when she stands down a hallway, she has a very narrow focal view, maybe 10 degrees, and it's very difficult for her to find the bathroom when she's in a hallway. Or when she drops something on the floor, she'll have to back off to the corner of the room to actually be able to see it. So the exercise that we did with our students was had them all build disability goggles. They put little narrow tubes for them to look through and blocked off all of their peripheral vision. So we took this group of students, about 25 of them, and we walked from the second floor out of the classroom, down the hallway. First year that we did this, we went down the stairs, and we recognized that was probably a bad move. So the second year, we took them down the elevator. And we walked across the Link Gallery, which connects the School of Art and Design and the Krannert Art Museum together. And we paused, and we took a photograph of the group in the Link Gallery. And then as we went into we had to pass through these doors to go into the Krannert Art Museum to get coffee. The first year, we let them have hot drinks. We learned that wasn't a good idea either because people couldn't put sugar or cream or get the lids onto the cups, and it was very difficult. But the really interesting note that came out of this experience was the students in this class have passed through these doors into the Krannert Art Museum many times over the course of the time while they've been at the university. But the doors are glass and very sleek and modern, and they have little dots on them that identify that they're glass doors. But suddenly, when their vision was restricted through these disability goggles, they couldn't see the doors. Somebody opened the door, people walked with their hands on each other's shoulder, kind of as a train. You could hear people come from behind you, but you couldn't see them. They'd be beyond you before you knew they were there. So the point of this exercise was to cause the students to look at the world differently through someone else's eyes and understand that good design isn't completely about visual things. It's about making the world work better for all of us. So in this case, for those students, the floor mat in front of the door was a really significant key to tell people that there was something different there as they came to these glass doors. Another form of empathic modeling that we do with our students is we restrict mobility with mechanical devices. And the point of this is, again, to experience life from some different perspective. And here you see me simulating a person in a wheelchair. I knew that if I sat in a wheelchair and tried to wheel myself around, in about 10 seconds, my arms would be dead and I wasn't going to get much out of the experience. And so instead, I sat in my desk chair and I made soup and I made my bed and I brushed my teeth and I tried reaching and looking at the world from a different perspective so that I can understand how someone else might respond differently to the same environment that I was used to every day. Another aspect of empathic research strategies is ethnographic type observations. And so our students went with their partners to their natural environments, in this case an apartment or maybe where they worked, and observed just exactly what life was like for this person. They listened to people to hear what they said about their experience as they were doing it, but they also observed with their own eyes exactly what happened. And in this case, this student, even though she is in a wheelchair and doesn't use shoes for the same purpose that most of us use shoes for, she loves shoes. And it was a very critical part for describing for herself, for her own identity. And she had all of these shoes displayed and stored in her very cramped apartment. And so the students that were working with this particular volunteer recognized that she needed to have some kind of accessible storage. And so ultimately they built this bookshelf for her that was set at an angle that made it easier for her to get books out of while she was in her wheelchair, but also as a place that she could display her shoes. In another empathic or ethnographic observation, these students observed a student with cerebral palsy trying to make a cell phone call. And she was very disappointed that she couldn't actually have a private call ever, because somebody always had to be the one that was dialing the phone for her and then holding the phone. And so this was a design moment that was an inspiration for developing a new product that could help her perhaps be able to control it. And this little headset was designed to actually work on puffs of air, because for this very specific person, she had very limited control. So a head movement this way wouldn't work for her, a variety of things. So this was very specific for this person. Another design moment that came out of this was that creating independence for a student with paraplegia. In this case, this student had to have somebody put this harness headset on him in order for him to be able to use his computer. And this required an assistant always to be able to put it on and take it off, because it's very cumbersome. And as the design student, who was a sophomore at the time, observed what was going on in this person's life, he thought there was something that he could do that was different. And so he took this chin strap that was from a football helmet and attached it to a pointer that would hang down that could be very, very subtle on this person. And so this man could actually pick the pointer up with his chin and drop it at will. And so it gave tremendously great freedom to him in his ability to be able to function. And this particular project has been up for the Lemelson MIT Award twice, and also won the National Inventors Hall of Fame Award this year for this student. So again, designing for real people. It's tremendously about communication. These empathic design research strategies that we've been working with our students to try to help them to develop products in a more, in a better way, to develop more inspired and intuitive products in a better way, require communication. And so it doesn't do any good if I stand up here and I'm talking to you about sailboats, or if I'm talking to you about apples and oranges, and you think that I'm talking about fruit, but I'm actually talking about laptops and cell phones. Orange in the UK is a brand of cell phone. So we have to be on the same page. We have to understand. We have to be able to communicate very well. And this is one of the real strategies that we're trying to teach our students here at the University of Illinois. So in the end, empathic design research is very much about real people, adding real needs and making real solutions, working together. Thank you.